When a minor Twitter beef illustrates an important discussion about the future, but nobody cares. Benjamin Boyce versus Libs of TikTok and the new anti-woke. Disclaimer, not on TikTok, and I also think Twitter is a cesspool. I think reality supports that opinion. Because I am on YouTube, obviously, and I'm on YouTube under my personal account as well, I found one particular YouTuber who I was very impressed by, this man called Benjamin Boyce. He has this podcast called The Voice of Reason, and his voice is just so soothing. And so that's why I thought it was so weird when I was going through Twitter under this other account, because I don't want to be out there. So I'm going under a different account just to see the news of the day and what the people are talking about, even though a lot of them, I'm convinced, are bots and psyop campaigns, whatever. They're on Twitter. And I see that Benjamin Boyce is feuding with Libs of TikTok. Libs of TikTok basically takes the most egregious social justice woke posts and puts them on Twitter. And then the people of Twitter are like, are you seriously saying these ridiculous things? Libs of TikTok has also expanded to post more than just TikToks, such as links to stories and videos that suggest a general anti-woke agenda. They don't seem to like vegans, LGBTQIA+, critical race theory, or Democrats. Somebody go check on your uncle, see if he started Libs of TikTok. Okay, the traditional libs believed in freedom. These are the new libs. So they just put what the new libs are saying on Twitter, and that's the whole page. And it's so entertaining.
You ever seen a tampon dispenser or a box of free tampons in a men's bathroom? What about a period aisle not labeled feminine hygiene or pink boxes all around it? Periods can be a really tough and dangerous time for people that aren't cisgender women. So if you're donating period products or putting them out in your workplace or school, make sure they're in all bathrooms. Or at least that all people have access to these products. Because blood has no gender, baby.
While I appreciate this person's gumption, if you find yourself bleeding heavily from your genitals every month and you're not a woman, see a doctor immediately. It's all fun and games until someone has to go to the emergency room, huh? Benjamin Boyce had initially been a fan, apparently, but then he decided that no, he does not want to be a fan of Libs of TikTok, and so he blocked them. But then he commented that he couldn't even block Libs of TikTok because all of his friends kept reposting Libs of TikTok. So then they reposted what he had said as in a type of own, because I think they thought that he was a libs, one of these libs to be owned, and he's not. He's nothing. As far as I can tell, he has no allegiance whatsoever. He's just straight down the middle, voice of reason. They were confused about who he was, and so they blocked him, and there was a blocking going on. There was a mini beef. It wasn't really a beef, and I think it has since been forgotten or just lost in the sea of beefs that are on Twitter, which is why it's a cesspool. Just so that you know, so you don't think that I am hating on the left or anything like that. The definition of woke has changed over the past 10 years. What woke used to be was a reaction to the materialistic, toxic culture that we had, one that was supported by, steeped in capitalism, advertising, a justice system plagued with injustice, an injustice system. That's what woke used to be, and now woke is something completely different. It changed around 2015. That's why I want to say the definition of woke just changed into being everything that traditionalists were not. This is not the Occupy woke. This is not the systematic racism in the police force kind of woke. This is not the anti-materialist woke. This woke is materialist. This woke seems to support the police enforcing vaccine passports. Like, who are these people? They're not the woke. Right, what are we talking about? We're talking about the voice of reason versus the libs of TikTok. So that's just all that to say is the woke is gone. The woke is dead. Franken-woke stands in its place.
I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
And so the libs of TikTok play videos from the new woke, and people laugh at them. And so it seems as though the voice of reason, Benjamin Boyce's audience, and Libs of TikTok's audience, there should be much of an overlap there, because he is a former leftist coming out and saying, hey, this is not the left that I used to be involved with. And I'm not sure if they're leftists or not. They're anonymous, so I don't know what they believe. Much of their audience, much of the people who enjoy watching Libs of TikTok are also Benjamin Boyce's audience. And that's why they keep coming up on his timeline, because his friends keep sharing them. So Boyce, Voice of Reason, on his channel, link at the bottom, made a video to explain what this beef was all about, what had happened, where it came from. And what Benjamin Boyce basically said was that he blocked Libs of TikTok because it was getting pornographic. It was like these people were getting off on watching these mentally disturbed teenagers who were caught up in this mind virus.
A relationship between a man and a woman is inherently unequal. And that goes for any relationship where someone is deciding to date their oppressor.
Oh no, that's not a boyfriend, that's a pimp. And you didn't have a relationship, you were sex trafficked. That having been said, this is Twitter. Twitter allows for actual pornography, for sexual pornography. I don't doubt that he blocks all sorts of content that he finds offensive, objectionable, pornographic, as he calls it. But in Boyce's video, he made some great points as to why Libs of TikTok is toxic to the culture, why it's not helpful to the culture.
And when people are conditioning themselves en masse as a group to respond to a certain stimulus, that stimulus will have power over them. People aren't really being critical when they look at these 90-second videos that are missing context because they're only 90 seconds, and then proclaiming their righteous indignation of this racist behavior, this sexist behavior, this gender woo behavior.
And it's sort of a Pavlovian response to seeing these blue-haired social justice warriors, to hearing their terminology and their vocabulary.
My contention is with the people who are just ingesting that work and then allowing themselves to be conditioned by that work to uncritically respond negatively to that. It's a moral war. You know what morality does? It binds and blinds. It binds people together as a group, and then it blinds them to other interpretations.
It binds us together with a common enemy. Now the anti-woke, that's former liberals, former woke who don't want to see their movement destroyed. That is also the right, the traditional conservatives who just think these ideas are ridiculous. That is also the alt-right and libertarians. That's everybody can come together and hate on this common enemy, the woke. And when he said that binds and it blinds, he's saying that it's now creating this moral structure so that the people in the anti-woke no longer have to think for themselves, because this moral structure has been created through which our world is filtered for us. Boyce says that if anybody in the anti-woke questions, well, then they're exiled. Now, we remember from, I believe it was that a tribe, a people, they kill heretics. They don't necessarily kill the enemy. They may hate the enemy, but just being the enemy isn't necessarily a problem. What's a problem is if you're a heretic, if you go against the group, if you leave the group, then there's more anger at you than if you had never been part of the group to begin with. So he is worried that the anti-woke is now rejecting people like him, rejecting people who question the whole anti-woke movement. Now, this is very funny because he had blocked them initially. So you're saying he started it? Whatever. But his point stands, because that's what happened with the woke. They kicked out anybody that didn't go along with their movement. It used to be a coalition. Remember that the woke, one by one, kicked people out. It kicked out groups. Brett Weinstein was run out of Evergreen for being a generally difficult man, but being technically correct in what he was saying. They ran him out of town. Then we had the radical feminists. They got run out of the woke because they wouldn't change their definition of what a woman is. The radical feminists are just like, this is what it is, and you're not going to tell me otherwise. Everything else, they fall very similarly, but in this one situation, they won't budge, and so they got thrown out of the woke. Most people are not woke enough for the woke anymore. And so the woke has just become a parody of itself. Also, we got to think that the woke became the woke in a reaction to what was going on in the Knots, the early 2000s, this evangelical Christian forming an alliance with these big businesses, forming an alliance with government. And so the woke was generally a reaction to that. And now there's a reaction to that. So we're just going back and forth like this. And Boyce says, well, when is it going to end? The anti-woke is going to become a parody of itself. And then where are we? Now, we have the privilege, we have the honor of getting to watch the anti-woke movement form in real time. Now, on the one hand, I find this fascinating. I'm so engulfed in this story, just how these social groups are forming and they're falling apart and they're recoalescing. It's really, really interesting. But on the other hand, I'm just like, when is someone going into the oven? You know, they have a countdown to the end of the world clock with nuclear weapons. We should have a countdown clock to when someone's going in the oven here, because I think we're all just kind of like, is this going to end up with someone in the oven? I hope the anti-woke movement does not end up with somebody in the oven. But if we do think that everybody who is quote unquote woke are like the people from Libs of Tik Tok, I mean, it could happen. Or it could happen to the reaction to that movement or the reaction to that movement. We all got to calm down with this reactionary politics, this reactionary thinking. This is what Boyce is warning about. That having been said, some of these clips are just absolutely absurd. It shows that the education system has gone completely off the rails. How much of the young public does this represent? How much of the other side does this represent? That's a big question mark. Question mark. And, you know, he does call Libs of Tik Tok pornographic, but modern America is so pornographic. How can we even tell what is pornographic and what isn't pornographic anymore? Like food porn, actual porn, violence porn, gore porn, it's everywhere. Libs of Tik Tok, it doesn't seem so pornographic when in that context, when you look at it in the context of we're in a pornographic society. So what's so bad about Libs of Tik Tok, really? It's not a truth we want to hear. It's not a truth I want to hear. But he's right about it. He says that, yes, we can have shallow flashpoints, shallow talking points, but the whole conversation can't be shallow. Having this conversation on Twitter, having this conversation about TikTok. I mean, these are the most shallow platforms, at least since Vine went away. You know, it's all shallow. Who was it, McLuhan, who said that the medium is the message? Well, these are shallow platforms, and the conversations going on them are shallow. Which is why I'm really glad that Boyce went to YouTube and made a video that was more in-depth over what he was saying. So we could actually delve into it. I don't know what he was really expecting from Twitter. People who are on Twitter, who care about Twitter, I'm like, what do you expect from this platform? So to sum it all up, 2 influencer pages, one good and one mischievous. Maybe good, but we don't know because it's anonymous. Benjamin Boyce blocked Libs of Tik Tok. And so he was blocked in return, although Libs of Tik Tok does not understand why. Benjamin Boyce comes out and says, your content is pornographic and we can do better as a society. And Libs of Tik Tok comes out and says, who the hell are you? I'm still going to watch Libs of Tik Tok. I'm not going to stop watching it, but now I'll think more and I'll say, okay, well, I get one video a day and then I can just go tisk, 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 you know, and then move on. People shouldn't be on video if they're like 18 years old and just learning about a specific ideology. Give them some time. I get what he's saying. You know, these kids are probably going through things and there's no need to just mock them. I'm still going to go on and mock them like just a little bit, just like this much. But is he right though? Is Libs of Tik Tok pornographic? I see where he's coming from. Everyone might not agree. I mean, you go over the 7 deadly sins and how many of them do they tick off? Okay, what do we got? We got pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, sloth, wrath. Okay, so how many do Libs of Tik Tok check off on that list? We got the pride. Pride is everywhere. Pride is the one. Pride is the one that gets you. And the pride is the tricky one that you don't even see is there because we're conditioned to not see pride. But pride is ego. Pride is the devil. My English teacher from high school used to go on about that. She's like, you got to watch out for pride. Pride is the one that comes up. It's in Julius Caesar. It's in the Crucible. The pride is the real devil. So that was this devil's sin, was pride. So definitely Libs of Tik Tok is checking off that pride one because people are watching it pridefully going, I'm better than them. This self-righteousness. Not really seeing greed or lust unless the person who runs Libs of Tik Tok is greedy or doing this to get laid, which I don't see that they would be because they're not public about who they are, like who is sleeping with them over this. So maybe they are greedy. I'll give them that. So maybe, but we don't know. We don't know about greed or lust. So we'll say no greed, no lust. Envy. There's envy in us watching it because these kids are young and people envy youth, and they also envy that the social capital that these kids may have. So there's envy going on there. Now, gluttony, no. I don't see any gluttony. Wrath, of course. This righteous indignation that these people are ruining society. Yes, wrath there. Wrath is absolutely there. And then we have sloth, because we think that watching Libs of Tik Tok, we're doing something. We're on the right side. We're doing nothing. We're sitting down, being lazy, watching this, being prideful. And so what do we have? Libs of Tik Tok checks off 4 of the 7 deadly sins. Now, any given trip to social media will check off 7 of the 7 deadly sins. So there we go. Libs of Tik Tok is less sinful than the medium on which it is. So less sinful, still sinful. Is it pornographic? I don't know. I don't know if we had to go through all the 7 deadly sins. I just like going through them. As you know from that video, I just like to check off what. I mean, a trip to the grocery store, that's at least 3 of the 7 deadly sins right there. So we're not going to hate on Libs of Tik Tok like that because they got 4. Anyway, is Libs of Tik Tok pornographic? Are you going to continue to watch it? Are you disappointed with the woke? And are you worried about an anti-woke reactionary movement forming? Let me know. Subscribe.